Hello, this is political reporter David Leal with South Windsor planning and zoning official Alan Cavagnaro. As a Gen Z elected official and local nonprofit leader, Alan fights for affordable housing and zoning reform, and for younger folks to have more of a voice in government. As a personal note, I consider Alan a friend and have recently volunteered at a national conference he helped organize. Without further ado, we welcome Alan Cavagnaro to our studio today. Welcome.
Hey, David. Thanks for having me.
All right, so Alan, why did you run for office in the first place?
That stems back from a long time ago, back in 2021. I was 19 at the time. That was 2021, so when I ran, there were a lot of young people being priced out of my hometown of South Windsor, Connecticut. And I saw that someone needed to step up and say something. You know, I'm not one to sit on the sidelines and complain and be a keyboard warrior, but rather to step up and try and impact change. So when I ran, we knocked out two incumbents, ran in November and got the second most votes. Even to this day, I'm still, it's still crazy that something like that could happen. And less than a month away from wrapping up my 4-year term. Yeah,
awesome. You recently started a Substack where you kind of share some of your personal experiences with your zoning and working and that. You argued that the makeup of local zoning boards aren't really representative of the population. Why is that important?
It's very important because at the end of the day, there's a lot of decisions that impact not only our developmental space of how communities look, suburban communities like South Windsor, urban communities like Hartford, even rural communities like Union, Connecticut. A lot of these communities, or most if not all, have planning and zoning boards. Sometimes they separate them, but mainly they're together. And they compose a lot more power than most people realize. At the end of the day, they write the zoning regulations. They approve and reject new and outdated zoning regulations. And then, on the more administrative side, they will take in applications to see whether or not Development A or Development B gets built. And that could be anywhere from warehouses to distribution centers, a new Starbucks, all the way to new affordable housing. And so when we have older, white, wealthier individuals, they're making sure that the door is shut behind them and making sure that the door is not open.
Yeah, and just as a clarifying question, can you just quickly explain to people what this planning and zoning is?
Yeah, of course. So the Planning and Zoning Board is a municipal board of government. And as some people know, there is a town council or a city council. Sometimes there's a board of education. And then there's a board that is not well known, which is the Planning and Zoning Board. And as I said, they really handle a lot of the developments that you see in town as well. And so they are a board that really composes the power, holds the power, really to make sure that at the end of the day that either the town is being developed responsibly or it's planning for the future.
Yeah.
Or I should say.
Yeah. Well, there are some folks on housing who dispute that Connecticut is in a housing crisis to begin with. What do you kind of say to that argument?
I would say that not only is Connecticut in a housing crisis, but almost every other state is in a housing crisis, a housing shortage, because A, we're not building enough homes to go around for everyone. That is a fact. When someone puts their house in the market, you have 50 bidders, it's going to create a bidding war and outdo the price of what it's originally worth at, and that is not only good that's not good for the economy, it's not good for working families. But then again, we need to look at rent stabilization, we need to look at other ways to make homes more sustainably built in better environments. We need to put homes near public transit, near bus stations, near transit centers, because then you're going to have people that are going to say, oh, we have this public-funded infrastructure here, and I'd rather use that than drive my car, right? There's an environmental argument to housing. And for far too long, we have looked at car-centric suburban sprawl, and we put homes in communities that didn't really need as many homes. I mean, I look at South Windsor as an example. Maybe it doesn't need 27,000 homes right now because a lot of that could have been multifamily homes in East Hartford, West Hartford, Hartford, right? A lot of the urban areas. So that is sort of the housing crisis that we're looking at. There's not enough homes. You need to look at after tenants and homeowners, but also they're not being developed the way that they should.
Yeah, well said. Do you believe housing is a human right?
It is, and I said this a couple of years ago against then State Representative Kim Fiorello. I still believe it, and it was signed in the 1948 UN Human Rights Declaration saying housing is a human right. I think she said at the time that you don't own the rights to one labor, but at the end of the day, we all deserve a roof over our head. The basic concept of a habitat, we owe that to not only ourselves, but to our neighbors as well.
Yeah. You recently helped organize an event called YIMBY Town. Can you first explain what is a YIMBY?
A YIMBY, and I'll have to explain what a NIMBY is as well to play the comparison, but a YIMBY, YIMBY, yes in my backyard. That means, like if you're putting affordable housing, like subsidized social housing in my backyard, I do not care, go for it, you have the green light. But in modern day, like 21st century terms, it's really turned into a, oh, I support missing middle housing, even if it's not in my backyard, right? And it also has turned into a movement of urbanism, of even things away from housing. I see a lot of YIMBY advocates now advocating for transit-oriented development or communities, advocating for social and public housing in other countries, right? It's not just a localized movement anymore. It's gone so much more abundant, right, through the abundance book as well. So that is sort of what a YIMBY is. It's sort of a big tent coalition from what it used to be back then. And the whole reason this term came to be is because there's a more well-known term, unfortunately, called NIMBY, which is not in my backyard, which is basically residents of any town you could fit into a picture saying, I don't want that development behind my house, in my backyard, whether it's affordable or not. Sometimes NIMBY is referred to as like not really housing as well. It could be like, I don't want that warehouse in my backyard. And so those are where the two terms originate from.
Yeah, and could you talk a little bit about this conference, YIMBY Town, that you helped organize and host, and what did you take away from it?
Yeah, it was really important to have the conference in New Haven, Connecticut, right? It's at the heart and center of growth and development for the state. I mean, Hartford's building a lot of homes, but at the end of the day, New Haven's building homes at a faster rate. There's a train station there that connects you down all the way into New York City, up to Springfield and Hartford, and so it was important to have it there. Right, there's pizza culture as well. We wanted to highlight what Connecticut stood for. But the whole origins of YIMBY Town stems from a decade ago. Back when a lot of pro-homes, pro-housing advocates said, we want to have a conference to bring in speakers that are doing a good job, not only on the local level, but on the state level, doing a good job at advocating for work, such as this, such as other groups in Connecticut that are like affordable housing, pro-homes advocates. And so every year it hops from state to state to state inside the United States. Last year it was in Texas, in Austin, Texas, and this year we won the rights to host it in New Haven, Connecticut. And so that meant a lot. And we had speakers all the way from Tamika Butler, down to racial equity, down to the Republican governor of North Dakota, Kelly Armstrong. And I think it goes to show that this is a big tent movement to try and advocate for more homes. It shouldn't be a left or right issue. It should be a common sense issue.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. So moving on to some things about voting in Connecticut. Early voting in the state began yesterday, actually, and Election Day for municipal elections is 2 weeks away now, Tuesday, November 4th. So what is your message to younger folks who may not see the importance of voting or even getting involved in government?
I think that's a very good question, because right now, this year in 2025, most people don't realize it, but we do have elections every year. And a lot of the time, local elections, as our planning and zoning boards, are overrepresented by the people that come out and vote, which are older, white, wealthier people, because they are looking at their community and coming out and voting every single year, whereas young people are either moving from place to place to place because of the cost of the living crisis, or finding a new job, or they're at college, just like as ourselves right now. And so young people are not voting as much. And so what that means is you're having, let's say, some elected leaders coming in and saying, I have another, I'm looking at a more austerity, regressive administration, and I want to increase taxes, cut spending. And spending can mean anything from your local Board of Education, which funds maybe your sibling that goes to school in your hometown. Maybe it funds public recreation and parks. Maybe you're a big climate change advocate. And so that's what it means. I mean, former Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, said all politics is local. This is what we mean when, you go out and vote on an odd year, which is your local election year, and you get to vote on people that decide the local budget and what gets built and the direction and the movement of your hometown. That's why it's so important. And for young people to get involved, right, such as myself, such as yourself as well, it means that you are at the decision table, that you are not left behind, and you have a voice to stick up for those young people that are right with you, that don't have the time to step up and pull up a chair to the table.
Yeah. So we have seen an increase in political violence. As an elected official, is this something that you have worried about?
I do worry about it, right? At the end of the day, with the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, I did not see eye to eye with him, but at the end of the day, he was wrong. Has no place in our society, but it is very worrying. Like, no matter what political spectrum you are, it is worrying, because at the end of the day, he was a free speech advocate, and what he was doing, again, whether I agreed with him or not, he was going out there saying stuff, riling up people for better or for worse, and he got shot for it, and that's unacceptable. And I know one day that you are going to have like a lot of big thoughts doing stuff after you are, and such as myself, and we're going to have a lot of opinions, right? We are naturally opinionated people, and that's just how it goes. And to have the idea that we could get hurt for our own words being spoken, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, well said. All right. Well, here at STN, we have done congressional interviews for folks in Connecticut's 1st Congressional District, which South Windsor and Hartford are a part of. What are your thoughts on kind of the dynamics of that race?
I think it's very interesting because I have been alive since the year 2002, and our current congressman has been there longer than I've been alive. And I think that, and out of this entire congressional district, he served the longest time. And so I think, yes, it is time for a challenge. That being said, we have a bunch of people stepping into the race that want to challenge Congressman Larson. I remember 4 years ago when we had a young upstart of Maiorini wanting to challenge John Larson. And I gave him support because I believe that someone needed to step up to the table and challenge what had been a nearly 2 to 3 decade term for a congressman. I'm still iffy on term limits, but I do believe term limits should exist in the willingness and ability for someone to step up and challenge someone. The way our political system works in Connecticut, we have conventions, right? People say, oh, we need like a Connecticut AOC, and I've heard that time and time again. I don't think that's going to happen because the convention system is such a barrier. It serves for better or for worse to represent local communities and local Democratic or Republican parties, both on their own sides. But they also have their cons in that it's so hard for an outsider to get into the race, to step up and run, right? We have someone from Hartford who's running, who I think is a great person, I think would do a great job, who I only learned about because she decided to step up and run. Same thing with Perry as well. I mean, we have more established people in Gilchrist and Bronan. They're wonderful individuals, and I think they all do a great job. I think that's what makes this race very, very exciting, because you have 4 competent people running against Congressman John Larson. And Larson has done a good job as well, so I think that's what makes it very tough. And fortunately and unfortunately, Connecticut is known as the land of steady habits. And I think that will play a big factor next year when the convention happens. I think right now, no one knows who's going to win the convention. I think that's what makes it very exciting. Yeah.
Do you plan on making an endorsement in that race?
No, not yet, not right now. And I don't think an endorsement would mean anything at that time. I will not be serving in any capacity. But at the end of the day, I will be voting for, in my belief, the right person that I think will lead the district, that will represent the district. I think it's too early right now to tell, right? I think we're less than a year away from the convention. I think we're, 7, 8, 9 months? Not willing to do that right now.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you. And where can folks go to learn more about you?
I have my own Substack, as David mentioned. I think it's just alanCavagnaro.substack.com. Maybe I got the URL right, but I have my own website just to put up my own work, to really show the work that we've all done in Connecticut. It's just myname.com. David, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and thank you. This has been political reporter David Leal with Alan Cavagnaro for STN Channel 2 News.